We're holding in the Maimah Vayishlach Yehoshua, and we're up to Ois Vav. We explained till now that the plus of the Levusha HaNefesh is that everybody's able to work with them. You have the Levusha HaNefesh, and you have the Midas of the Nefesh. Levusha HaNefesh and Machshava de Barmaisa, and this is represented in the Yerichoi, that Hashem commanded Yeshua to send spies there. You have the Midos of the person, which is represented by the Eretz Canaan, the 7 Midas, that Moshe Rabbeinu sent on his own. So any aspect of Ava and Yiras Hashem that a person can develop in order that his Seichel and that his Machshava de Bramaisa would be in tune with serving Hashem, that there's not something he does, says, or thinks consciously that is contrary to Hashem, that he's in control of that, the Vedas Abeinani. That was what the mission that Yeshua was sent on by Hashem, and the limit that we have today, even we're not conquering going to Yerichoi, but the internal level of Yerichoi in the person is Machshava de Maisa, is what we're able to work with. And that's they're called Levusha Nefesh, garments. What's the meaning of garments? Garments is something which is able to be exchanged. You can pick which clothes you're going to wear. You could be in a bad mood, but put on happy clothes, or be in a happy mood and put on sad clothes. Similarly, you're able to even work to think, speak, and do things that are not necessarily in line with how the Nefesh Abamis feels. You can act on the Nefesh Elikis level, not the Nefesh Abamis level. So up till now, we've learned that the Levusha HaNefesh are a lower level. In this case, we're going to see how the Levusha HaNefesh are on a higher level. So it's the Alter Rebbe explains between Perek Beis and Perek Dalet in Tanya. In Perek Beis, he says that the Nefesh Elikis is a chelik elikam mal mamish. It's a godly chayas, godly existence, and not like the Nefesh Abamis, which is that of Klippa. So, if that's the case, it's always attached to Hashem. When you learn Torah and do mitzvahs, you're attaching the neshama to Hashem. Why does the neshama need Torah and mitzvahs to attach to Hashem, where itself is a godly energy? It should be good enough on its own. So he explains that no matter how great the neshama would feel of its love for Hashem, it's still limited because it's only one neshama. It's a created entity. However, the machshava dibba maisa, with which we use to learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and that's Hashem's rotzen, and Hashem is the creator. Hashem is bligvul. His rotzen is bligvul. His will is without limit. It's unlimited. And he said, I want Yidden to do this mitzvah, put on tefillin, wear tzitzis, eat kosher, etc. So then, when the neshama does that, when a neshama in a guf does that, which you can only have a guf to do Torah mitzvahs, what happens? You're connected not just with the love of the neshama, but to the Hashem as he is, his very essence. His unlimitedness, the rotzen Hashem, as it's believable. So it's only through the levushim that you have this connection. The neshama l'mayla doesn't have this connection to Hashem because there's no mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are only in gashmis. So wondrously, Hashem put into the gashmis performance of the mitzvahs this unique connection that we get only through the levusha nefesh. So therefore, the neshama is uplifted through that. Second thing is that you see sometimes when a person puts on different clothing, they become a little bit different. They act in a certain way. That you have in Welt, they have the casual day. One day of the week coming to work, instead of wearing formal clothes, a suit and tie, etc., people can wear casual clothes. Thing is, once you wear casual clothing, we tend to act casually. We're not the same poise as you would otherwise, and different clothing bring out a different aspect of the person. You see a lawyer who would walk, a solicitor, a lawyer, walk into the courtroom, and if even wearing torn jeans and a T-shirt with a number on it depicting a sports personality, how would you think that here's the lawyer I want to get? Now, it's not being judgmental. It's how we see, how we're affected, because we're affected by the chitzonius representation. At the same time, it does affect who we are. When a person dresses up, then they take on a certain mindset, a certain shtel, that I'm here for this position. And so we see that on a funny thing about levushim, physical levushim, it affects our mindset a little bit. And one of the reasons for this is that levushim are, in our world, come from stuff in the world which is lower than the nefesh ha'adam. Clothing comes from cotton, linen, leather, wool. It doesn't come from the level of Adam. The four levels Hashem created. Daimam, Sameach, Chaim, Medaber. And so all of the clothing comes from a lower level. And there's a general rule. That which is higher fall down's lower. And so there's the godly level of enlivenment, the Dvar Hashem that creates all of the physical matters that are lower than the Adam, come from a higher source. This is a deep union the Kabbalah speaks about. We touched on it, and when it came to the Pesach, that you find that as a child matures and his digestive system matures, he's able to eat solids. That solids, and at the same time, there's a maturity of his mind, can recognize things, and even before he begins to speak. So it's all linked. That the lower the item is, the greater its source is in the spiritual worlds. So it says, not only on bread alone does a person live, but on the Dvar Hashem, the godly energy that's invested in the bread that a person gets his life from. Because the existential question is, a person's the highest level of life on the planet. Why does he get energy from minerals, plants, animals? He should give life to them. That's because within them there's a certain amount of divine energy, which from one aspect comes from a greater level. And so levushim also come from this deeper level. The lower it falls in our world shows it comes from a higher source. So we're going to see here that the levush and nefesh, it's not this, you know what, we're on the level of Beinanim, therefore we've got to work with levush and nefesh, we're second class. Here we're going to see it's not just the second class. Since the vast majority of Yidden are on this level, there's a plus that there is to this, that this is the playing field that we can elevate our neshama with. Let's look inside. Oizvav. V'yesh loymar. The Indians, shemachshav v'dibba ma'isa hem levushim. This the machshav and ma'isa al levushim, their garments, who gam at time malzeh she Indian the machshav v'dibba ma'isa the geya yoysa me'amidos. That the working with a machshav v'dibba ma'isa is more relevant. The geya yoysa has more emphasis than even working with the midas, as we discussed earlier. That our religion is very action-oriented. It's wonderful and important to have Avos Hashem and Avos Yisrael, Avos Torah. But if a person just says, "Oh, I feel so bad for that poor person," and doesn't give him the money to help him or the piece of bread, it's really worthless. It's similarly in mitzvahs. If a person says, "I love Hashem and I understand all the meaning behind tefillin," it's absolutely fantastic, but he doesn't put on tefillin, he didn't do the mitzvah. It's very, very important to actually do the mitzvahs in action, speech, and in thought. That accomplishes the kavanah why Hashem created the world. I know. Here And this is why the main thing that's expected from each person is the avodah in his thought, speech, and action. Who? It's not only because he can work with it, which we said before, which is a tremendous plus. We're able to work. Not only that, Ella Gam because it's more relevant. It's what's more negeya. It's more important, and that's why the Yeshua was given that directive. And in our Avodas Hashem is what we can work with ourselves, because it's more negeya. And we'll understand this by explaining what are levushim. The sherish of levushim because the source of garments is from a higher level than people that dress up in them, because they come from the inanimate objects. And the source of inanimate objects, as they are above in the spiritual worlds, come from a higher level than the person, because they come down lower. And you see it in a way, there's less spirituality in minerals, in plants, and in animals there is in a person. There's a greater level of spirituality, that's the seichel of the midas part of the person, his intellect. And so that which is lower comes from a higher level. It's like the marshal is, you have a wall. As the wall collapses, that which is the stones higher up fall further away from the base of the wall. So this is the marshal that's used to explain that you have in these different levels of godliness. The whole topic, it's got to do with the Kabbalistic concept of toihu and tikkun, which is not for this mimer. Omailazu shemitzad shorshim, and this milah that they have, this plus they have, is nikeres behem ganli achish nimshachulamata, is also recognized after they come down below in our world. Dezer mashal levushim heim makifim al adam. One as we see that the levushim surround the person. They give him a protection also. They surround him. You have clothes that encompass the body. So that depicts that they come from a higher level. They're a makif, an all-encompassing energy. Also, and they add beauty to the person. Person dresses up. You don't go to a wedding dressed down, at least not usually. It says with sloppy clothes, sweatpants, and a t-shirt. That's not, we call dressing up. It's the language. Why dressing up? Because when you dress up, it adds to the beauty of the person. So what's the difference if a person's wearing clothes or not? I mean, besides the attitude of modesty and protection from the world around. When you wear clothes, it adds to the feeling of the person and the beauty of the person. You have by the Kohen Gadol, for example, beautiful clothing. And we find in the Gemara, Reb Yechon Kari Lamani Mechabdusa, that Reb Yechon said about his clothing, this gives me honor. This is my honor. There's something which clothing brings that out. Why is that? Because their source is higher than that of the person.